now going on his own. He gets the try.
The Red 78.
We're both Munster people.
Carberry gets over the line. Try from Munster.
Nobody knows Munster rugby better.
Hello and welcome along. I'm Alan Quinlan and you're listening to episode 54 of the Red 78 here on the Rugby channel. And with me as always is Niamh Briggs. Good morning, Niamh. How are you?
Morning, Quinny. Good, and you?
Great weekend for you with your team winning on Saturday against Leinster. We'll get into that. I'll come back to that in a little bit. We have a special guest this morning. We're always trying to engage with the fans, particularly with tweets we put out and get their feeling for what's going on, how they feel about Munster rugby. And this morning we're joined by Ray O'Brien, a Munster rugby supporter for a long time, from Limerick, living in Cork. That's an interesting one, Ray, but you're very welcome. Good morning to you.
Hi, Alan. How are things? Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Look, we it's a little bit different because we from the very start of this podcast, we've always been trying to get fan engagement, and we like that because we feel the supporters are very much a really integral part of Munster rugby going forward. Great kudos for all the Munster fans over the years going to games, all the colour they bring all over Europe and renowned as some of the best fans in the world. So it's brilliant to have you. Just to talk about a little bit what it's like being a Munster fan, and particularly just in the last, we haven't won a trophy in a long time. What has the journey been like for you, and how long have you been supporting Munster? Obviously, we had glory before and lots of success, but it's been a barren period, so it's been difficult. What's the whole journey been like for you supporting Munster rugby?
Yeah, look, I remember supporting Munster for as many years, trying to get into the supporters club back when it was nearly impossible and you were on a waiting list. And then I received an email from the supporters club saying, look, there was vacancies. Were you interested? So myself and my brother John both applied at the same time, and we managed to get 2 season tickets, which we have in the East Terrace in Thomond Park. The journey, obviously, 2006 and 2008 were fantastic. I was over for the Leicester game back in 2000, I think it was. My next door neighbour brought me over for one of my first foreign trips, which was an incredible match, but obviously disappointing because of the result. Obviously, the last couple of years have been disappointing, but in the last year, the impact that Graham Rowntree has had on the team has just been fantastic, and that is the word in the terrace at the moment. To see the style of play completely change is great to watch. One of the lads that was with me at the game, his comment, I think, of the game was, we've had to retrain our eyes so that we can follow the ball, because the line speed has just been improved so much. The game is so much faster. Munster's game is so much faster that, we're watching a lot of offloads and stuff, which we haven't seen over the last couple of years. So it's been great to watch this season. Still very cold up in Thomond Park, standing in the East Terrace. But overall, look, it's an enjoyable game to watch now. Some of the results at the start of the season haven't been fantastic, but people are getting behind Graham Rowntree and the team. It's great to see the likes of Mike Prendergast and Dennis Leamy and the rest of the crew that he brought in there. And he's given the opportunity to the younger players, which everybody seems to be talking about. The likes of Shane Daly on the wing has just been immense. I understand with Conway and Earls being out, that gave them the opportunity, but they've really grabbed it and they've taken it, and they're going forward. It's great to see.
For you as a Munster fan, what's the expectation? So when you go to a game or when the season starts off, obviously everyone is kind of enthusiastic and hopeful, but this new era you're talking about, this new coaching ticket, does that give you hope, and does it give the other Munster fans hope that they're on the right track? Because both Niamh and I have been talking about that a lot. Are Munster on the right track? And what is the reality for this season? Are we, and the expectation from the fans?
Look, I suppose we all want to dream big. Look, everyone would love to see us getting to the Heineken Cup final and do well in the URC. That's the dream. Obviously, everybody wants that. Reality, qualifying for Europe next year, like that has to be top the agenda. and definitely seeing the progress that's been made. I think we're on the right track. Last couple of games, we've gotten the wins. Even being at the Toulouse game, it was absolutely Baltic, the fog, everything impacted us. But they dug deep, and you could see even from that game that we're definitely going in the right direction, and the progress we've made over the last couple of games.
Do you feel that the Munster fans play an important role in driving the team on, and how important is that connection? Because again, both Niamh and I have spoken about this. The game last May in the Aviva against Toulouse, there seemed to be a little bit of a changing of the tide, turning of the tide there, with the connection with the fans again, and maybe being excited as to maybe where this team is going. Because obviously when I played and I experienced it, and we could feel that as players every time we went around Europe. But I just think, that was a really interesting day for me, even though it was heartbreaking in the end. But the whole connection with the fans seemed to be rejuvenated again on that day.
Yeah, I've noticed over the last couple of years. So obviously the connection was exceptionally high, a few years ago. And then there was definitely a dip. You could see it, you could feel it in the terraces. It seemed to be a lot quieter. The singing, the shouting, getting behind the team over the last couple of years, it's definitely gotten a lot quiet, or had gotten a lot quieter. But you can just see the rejuvenation in the fans, the excitement. When you're there before the match, around Thomond Park, talking to other fans, you can see that we go in with the expectation of winning every game. And that's where we have to be. And that's where the team is definitely progressing to. But you can feel it amongst the fans. We're excited. We're looking forward to the next game. And we always give ourselves a chance, even against the top teams in Europe, like Toulouse when we played them in Thomond Park. Even when Leinster came down, we understand how strong that squad is, and the depth that they have in that squad compared to Munster at the moment. But we still give ourselves a chance, and there's still talk now of we could possibly do this. That wasn't there in the last 2 or 3 years. So just the simple impact of this year alone, and the way the team has progressed, the talk now amongst the terraces, we have a chance against everyone. And I think that's why we can dream big. We can upset teams when we're not expected to win, and hopefully we can do that going through to the end of the season.
Right. Just talk to us a little bit about the Munster Supporters Club. So you had I think Gary on here last season in relation to the club and the importance of how it drives the support. Like, will you get to Toulouse this weekend? Is there a group of them going? And the importance, I suppose, of that, the ethos or the culture around the province, and how it's been driven by you as a fan base.
Yeah, look, from my own experience in the Munster Supporters Club, I've been in it for a good few years now, and even though I'm not able to make every game as much as I'd love to, you still want to back that team. You can see in the forums and the likes of yourselves, the podcast, it's great to hear people's experience and people texting in and messaging and giving their view on the game. As I said to you in one of my tweets to you, we may not have the same in-depth knowledge that you have of rugby, but we do feel that we can, give our view on it, and it's taken on board. And that's one thing that I love about this podcast, and it's great about talking to Munster fans at matches, that like we all have our own views, and we might differ on some way the players are playing at the moment, or previous managers. But at the like Munster fans in general, they're brilliant. I've been over to France for an away game to Marseille when Rob Penny was in charge, and I remember being down on the quays in France, and he walked past a group of Munster fans, and the place just exploded. And it doesn't matter whether you're from Kerry or Clare or across the country, and there are Munster fans that aren't from Munster that follow the team because of that. It's like a family nature. People want to be involved in that. It's just such a great club to be a supporter of and be involved in as much as we can be.
Well, look, Ray, we don't have a lot more time, unfortunately, because we have to get into that in-depth analysis that hopefully people want to listen to. Just finally, your experience of Saturday, nail-biting in the end, and what do you see happening in Toulouse on Sunday? Can we win there?
Yeah, look, from the game on Saturday, first half was immense. They were brilliant. Anton Frisch, for me anyway, has just been a revelation in that team. Um, Obviously, himself and Fekitoa were brought in. We were expecting a huge impact from Fekitoa, and it just hasn't really clicked yet. We can see the progress coming, but Anton Frisch has just been incredible, and his offloads have been brilliant. And that seems to be the talk of the terrace, like that, the impact that he's made. Mike Haley, again, has just been brilliant as well. Really a different player this year. He seems to be enjoying his rugby, and that was the talk. The red card, I know you'll get into that. I was getting a text message from my brother in Dublin because he couldn't make it down. He was like my TMO on my phone to tell me what was happening. And that's the one thing I just said I'd say to you. When you're in the terrace, we can't hear the conversations that the referees are having with the TMO. So we're judging it off the pictures on the big screen. So that's one thing that the supporters don't have. But they held well defensively. Dennis Leamy's done a fantastic job. We managed to hold out and get the win, which was great for us. And as regards Toulouse, then why can't we go over there and cause that upset that I've talked about? As I said, have to dream big, and hopefully we can get a result. And if not, look, come away with a losing bonus point, get up to 10 points, and hopefully that'll do us to qualify and get an away match in the next round.
Yeah, well, it'd be brilliant if they get into the knockout stages, and the same for the URC. It's going to be difficult, but look, Ray, thanks for your impact this morning, and input, I should say, this morning. It's great to have you on. As I said, both Niamh and I want to try and hear what the fans have to say as well, and I think it's an integral part of Munster rugby, and we both experienced that support, and I think, to see the atmosphere and to see the run that the team is on at the moment. Niamh is always given out to me, but I'm sometimes glass half empty. But from what you're saying, I think the supporters are glass half full now, and that's nice to hear, and it's nice to know. And we all understand the reality that we're probably not going to be lifting trophies, but we get a couple of players back from injury and are in the knockout stages. I think we could have a chance of upsetting teams a little bit in the latter part of the season. So look, hopefully they continue on the run. They need to go on a really good run. Thanks, Ray. It's really good to have you, and thanks for the support and for listening to the podcast as well.
Yeah, listen, thanks very much for having me on. It's great to chat to both of you, and love the podcast. And Niamh, well done with the team there at the weekend. That was a fantastic result for you as well.
Thanks a million. Thanks.
That was brilliant to have Ray O'Brien on from Limerick there, a passionate Munster supporter, just to get the impact of the fans and to the feeling of where Munster are going at the moment. So he's pretty positive and enjoying the run of results, Niamh. But let's move on to what happened at last weekend. We got to get onto your game because you have a big smiley head this morning on you, and rightly so. You beat Leinster 26-17, a bonus point win. You were glass half empty last week with me when I asked you how will you get on. You were pretty nervous, but you must be incredibly happy with the result and the performance of the team. 2 wins from 2.
Yeah, hugely, definitely. We didn't make it easy for ourselves in the second half, but no, it was brilliant. Jeannie Mac, they played some unbelievable rugby in the first half. It was pretty cool to be sitting in the stands watching it and being associated with them. They're just a brilliant group. And
did they surprise you?
They did. No, I knew they had it in them. I think what surprised me was that they were pretty ruthless at times, but also the fact that they didn't panic. So Leinster came out of the blocks absolutely firing, and we conceded a try in the first few minutes. And I thought, oh God.
And that was a very, very strong, experienced Leinster team. 7 of their forwards were either Blackrock or Railway, who were in the AIL final. A lot of experience,
look,
a lot of
they're a
internationals.
really good team, very well coached and very organised, and they've got a lot of talent. But I just can't put my finger on it with this group. They're just so good. We had a really good, we met Friday evening, captains run, and I'd given them a task during the week about what it meant to play for Munster, and should have seen some of the answers that came back in. It was incredible. So we managed to put together this big kind of poster for them, and and it was on the dressing room when they came into Musgrave Park. But the things they spoke about, it literally just brings you back down to earth about how much it means for people to be able to put on a red jersey. You and I got to experience it, and it was great. And when now you're tired, not that you forget, you hold on to those moments, but you don't really realise what other people are feeling. Like, we had a couple of girls that was like, life goal made. Like, a life goal was to play for Munster, and they got to tick the box last Saturday.
Yeah, you have to change the goals now, though.
We pushed them on. They pushed them on. Yeah,
it's not staying it's not staying in the comfort zone now, and actually experiencing it and enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant, and it was a really good match. And we were under the cosh for a lot of that second half, and to be able to pull out a try at the last play of the game, to be able to stretch them, get that bonus point, was brilliant. And they were buzzing afterwards. I was delighted for them. I was very proud of them.
So you've got Connacht away next week, and you win that, and you win the Interpros. A very special moment after the game as well. Clodagh O'Halloran proposed to Chloe Pearce. You don't often see that after a rugby match.
No, Clodagh rang me on the Monday to ask me, was it okay if we'd won? Could she do it? I had the ring in my pocket for the game, so it was like burning a hole.
That's brilliant.
I was delighted for them. They're two of my club mates as well, and so it's brilliant. Yeah, they were buzzing afterwards, and it was great. Chloe's probably the most staunch Munster person I've ever met. So to be able to do it while she was playing, I suppose, it's probably incredible feeling for them. So yeah, look, it was great.
It was a lovely moment, and best wishes to both Clodagh and Chloe as well. It was really special. Munster in the afternoon, so that was a good start to the day. Obviously, Munster won the game 27-23 against Northampton, 24-0 up at half time. You think this is all going according to plan. They were down to 14 men. Jack O'Donoghue sent off, hanging on in the end, but they got the result. I put a tweet out yesterday. We'll read some tweets. We're a little bit shorter for time this week because we've had Ray on. Give us a general kind of synopsis or a couple of tweets or a couple of messages on YouTube of what the fans are saying.
Everybody was super impressed, I think, in relation to the shifting of the guard. I think it's probably the big thing. No finished the game with no Earls, Murray, Conway, Zebo, Klein, Peter O'Mahony, Carberry, all off the pitch, and to be able to go and finish it out. Two big turnovers with John Ryan Cundellin combining really, really well. So Ian Flynn talks about a month ago they would have lost the game. Youth really came of age, hopefully a defining moment for this Munster team. Great experience and confidence for the younger lads who were trusted to see out the game. And nod to Shane Daly's late try-saving tackle as well. Michael Coveney, a game of three quarters. We played with full side for roughly 20 minutes. In the finish, we did extremely well to win against next and Northampton side. It was a red card offence, but onwards to Toulouse and we start again. Joe, good to see this coaching team consistently rewarding form over reputation / experience. Red card could have cost us the game, but this is the squad gradually developing a winning habit. John Toohey, Joe, had a brilliant game except his decision not to step into touch, resulting in their second try. Our system allows them to flourish. It explains why Andy Farrell picks him in the national team. How many defenders he beat? It was a lot. Expect nothing points-wise from the Toulouse game. I think, a lot of it was really in relation to, the fact that the first 20, 25 minutes, we were well on the way to winning this game well from the perception. I do think, irrelevant of whether, we had 14 or 15 men, I think at half time, Northampton would have definitely regathered themselves and come out fighting. So was it a nailed on bonus try? I'm not sure. You'd like to think it was, but I do think that Northampton, the likes of Courtney Laws and Ludlow, and they were always going to come out fighting and swinging. So I do think that that would have been a tough one. Tim O'Sullivan, we played our best rugby in the first half, however, sending off had a huge effect in the second. Felt the sending off was harsh. Northampton player had been tackled and was going down when he collided with Jack O'Donoghue. Coombs magnificent. Would hope we get a losing bonus points. That's in relation to the Toulouse thing. Gary from the West Terrace View, loved the commitment and sheer doggedness epitomised by the final 30 seconds. Were practically out on their feet. They held on to hold up the ball carry and win turnover. Northampton could not shift them despite their best efforts. Toulouse will be a tough ask. So that's kind of a general overview. I think we were talking about the rugby being really, really good, scintillating in parts, and then obviously that doggedness, that resilience to be able to see out Toulouse or to Northampton, when they were piling on the pressure in the second half.
Okay, brilliant. There's a couple of comments on YouTube. Dave Pierce emailed, great game in Musgrave Park last Saturday. Well done. Giving you compliments, Niamh. Michael Nash also emailed, Ben Healy leaving is an absolute travesty. He's the best number 10 at the club, but in terms of physicality, passing, an all-round game and defence. Again, it's the Ben Healy thing. We debated that and talked. It's a long message from Michael. We don't have time to read it all. But Michael, we understand supporters questioning the handling of both Healy and John Ryan, disappointing all round. That feeling is out there, but it's Ben Healy's decision. So there's one here at the end, Jerry O'Callaghan on YouTube. Quinny, you keep mentioning power, so why don't you advocate for Okeke, OG, and Shane Edogbo? I don't know who OG is.
Ichi OG, Quinny. He's
okay.
Just another 20 player from UL Bows. He signed this year. Yeah, look, he's incredibly powerful.
Is he in the academy? Because I checked the academy.
No, he's not. No,
right,
he's not.
Okay.
He's training at the moment with the NTS. He's got huge potential. He's very young.
Okay, but so Jerry's saying we don't get those genetics too often. Also, I'm not impressed by our S&C as players in the system for years don't seem to be put on muscle. Barron swapping 5 kg of fluff for muscle. There's no need for marks. He's got pace and hands, does seem to have farmer strength as well. So look, I think the power thing is we do talk about that a little bit around, and Jerry Callahan is talking about that. I think Okeke has had injuries.
And it's Sean Edogbo, and he's in the system. He's 19 years of age.
Did you see the try he scored at the weekend for
outrageous.
UCC?
I was actually down helping out the training session yesterday, and he's as big in real life as he looks on the video scoring. He's now he got passed over. Brian Gleeson's another young tip back rower, number 8, incredible player, and they passed over the mantle of the fastest forward in the system.
His try was incredible, and it's on YouTube and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and Instagram. So
it's for UCC.
Have a look at that. Yeah. The point about the power, yes, of course. If you get that natural strength and power and explosiveness, it was really, really, it's really, really helpful. Okay.
Of course it is, but Quinny, if they don't use it, then it's very difficult to be able to. They have to. We watch them playing week in, week out at AIL level. They just got. They still have all those 3 players have huge potential, but a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, of course.
So
there's a lot of it's positive again. The result is the biggest positive, Niamh, obviously, and I think the first half performance. I think if we were to pick parts of the game in the second half, of course we could find faults. They fatigued a little bit. Maybe their game management wasn't as good as it needed to be. And you get the inevitable reaction from a side who probably got lambasted by their coaches at halftime. They're 24-0 down. So there is a lot of positives. And I think the reality is, we're still a little bit short on firepower. The depth, particularly, in the second row with the injuries that are there at the moment, that bit of power does help. The positives for me, obviously, the performance of some of the whole team in the first half, the attack, the tries they scored, the Jack O'Donoghue try was an outstanding score. Lots of positives there. And I think they're learning and they're improving, and they showed a big, huge amount of resilience in the second half. What's your take on the positives and negatives of the game? Just quickly, synopsis.
Yeah, look, I thought it was huge positives. I literally have that Jack O'Donoghue try clipped for the girls, because it's incredible to be able to see them stay patient when things, sometimes the carries weren't exceptional, but their ability to be able to just understand that if they can put it through another phase or two and get to an edge, then they have the ability to be able to stretch that Northampton defence. And they did. I think the big moment within that phase of play was Anton Frisch getting to the outside. The big handoff, and he gets it out outside. Previously to that, they had gotten to 2 kind of what we call mini edges, so in around that 15 channel. But he gets to there, and he gets to the actual 5 metre, and then all of a sudden you see the Northampton defence condense in. They get it out, and Jack O'Donoghue's running a support line off Gavin Coombs. Some of that stuff was incredible. For me, though, the biggest positive was that grit, that resilience, that ability to defend for long periods of time. Shane Daly coming up with 2 big plays, John Ryan and Alex Candellin coming up with big turnovers. At moments where Northampton were very much on top, I think that's a huge, you'll be bouncing into training if you're Dennis Leamy this week, knowing that they trust and believe the system that you're trying to do, and they're willing to put their bodies on the line for it.
Yeah, it was. I think I'm always conscious of the fact that you don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves. I think the players will look back and realise that there was some mistakes, and they take the positives. Graham Rowntree said he was very proud of the players, and I think they did really dig in, and that was quite telling that there was a lot of experienced players kind of off the field when those moments and those big plays were really important. On the sending off, I think it's a clear red. I don't think, you can debate it too much. There is a little bit of a dip in the height, but I think it did affect the team. I think they fatigued a little bit in that second half. I think the game management a little bit was, and that's not just from your halfbacks, from everyone, just decision making, keeping it a little bit tighter maybe at times. I think there was a lot of ball out the back where maybe some of the frontline runners could have been hit and they could have been a little bit direct. But you want them to be ambitious. But
yeah, completely. I agree on the send it off. I think once you turn your shoulder in towards the player, you're kind of putting yourself under pressure in relation to pictures that you're painting. I would 100% query the Northampton yellow card on Joey Carberry.
Michael Haywood, the hooker for Northampton.
Yeah, I felt that should have been a red when you look back at it. Clear direct contact to the head. If we're looking at being consistent across the board, Henry Slade had a very similar incident for Exeter this weekend and got sent off for it. And I thought it was a red. I just don't think. I
thought he was very lucky, and the referee to Tranini, the French referee, who I thought was very good actually, for a change. I thought his TMO kept kind of saying to him, "You need to look at this more. You need to look at this more." And I think he claimed there was contact initially, but there's contact with his shoulder as well to his face. He was very lucky. Very lucky.
He knew what he was doing. I'm sorry, exactly. You've got time. Carberry had kicked. It was very obvious he was shaping up to kick. You're not going to get there. It's reckless for me. I think Ty Burner, someone had a similar one against.
I agree, I mean this respectfully to Munster. I think there's some other teams with a lot more depth who can probably cope a little bit better and manage a game. Toulouse on Sunday, they had. Copus Visa was sent off for sale after 18 minutes, and they struggled. They started the game very well, scored a try early on, but then Toulouse really overpowered them with that extra number. Some teams could deal with it better than others, but look, it's difficult to play that long with 14 men. So there's lots of positives, a couple of negatives that are not huge for me. They're not overly concerning. I think they'll learn from the experience. And the grit and determination, it certainly was a bit of squeaky bum time there for the last kind of 10 minutes, but they came up with some big defensive plays, as you said, and they showed a lot of grit and determination. Star of the week this week, well, it has to be Gavin Coombs for me again. I think his form has been brilliant in the last couple of weeks.
I think we had to have a notable mention to Shane Daly as well. I thought he was
of course
very good. Lots of them are very good, but I just thought he came up with big moments. In relation to that, in relation to their back three players, apart to me, there are times when they go to an edge, and if you watch how the back three players are moving now, they'll call it swing or sweep open, and they'll come around and they'll create that overlap. But it's their ability to get back on their feet and get back to the opposite edge. There was actually times where Gavin Coombs or Peter O'Mahony were out there by themselves, and we were just a little bit slow to kind of get out there to exploit that space. I just think that'll definitely be something that they'll be working on for Toulouse.
Their work rate and their fitness is so much better, and I think that's an emphasis, and that's coming from the coaches, and particularly the way they want to try and play. So
Gavin
Gavin,
Coombs was exceptional.
exceptional, yeah. He's started a week, great reaction since the disappointment of November, and he's come back very strong, and he's probably put himself back in a position again now for, grab
I
the
feel like
attention
he's getting
of
more
the Irish.
involvement in terms of like
But that's what he
he's
needs.
fitter. Yeah, he's consistent. So like before, I felt like we would have seen a big carry. We wouldn't have seen him for a couple of phases. Whereas now he's constantly involved. Constantly, his work rate is incredible. And he's starting to try to reach those levels of consistency where it's happening week in, week out. So yeah, look, very good performance.
Yeah, I thought one other thing I wanted to ask you. So Gavin Coombs is our star of the week, and lots of big performances throughout the team. Joey Carberry coming off, and I saw one or two comments. A couple of people saying he played really well, and another couple saying that he looks a little bit off at the moment. I personally thought that he did a lot of good stuff in the game, and I still think he has that magical touch. Is he at 100%? I think there's still a little bit of a spark and a confidence or an aggression missing a little bit. He's a wonderful player, and I think they've actually worked really well, Jack Crowley and himself together.
There was lots of times where he went to an edge, and Carberry either finds himself in and around that ruck, and then Jack jumps into the 10, and as they're swinging back, Jack stays there, and it just releases Carberry to a wider channel and has that ability to rip the pass. I thought it was really good. I did. I thought he controlled the game very well. I thought himself and Casey worked very well. I thought himself and Crowley worked excellent. Yeah, I thought it was a surprise to see him coming off at 60 minutes. But in fairness, to the coaches, they backed those decisions and those young lads. And I just thought, I actually thought he did really, really well. And I do think going into the Six Nations, he'll probably, if Johnny's not fit for the first game, I'd imagine it'll be him starting.
Yeah, for sure. I think, look, he's still a quality player, and I think they're working well together. Frisch is. There's a bit of evasion there. There's an energy to their performances. We know they need more depth. They need the players back.
Yeah.
Dogbo, hopefully RG Snyman, Thomas
Ahern,
Fineen Wycherley. There's a bit that gives you a little bit more options there, and it certainly adds to your game. But they won the game. They've won 2 from 3. They sit sixth in Pool B on 9 points. They haven't the job done yet. They may need something. They may still not need something. Montpellier on 7 points in 7th. Clermont are on 6 points in 8th. And then Sale are on 5 points in 9th. They go to Belfast. Obviously, Ulster can't catch Munster. So anyway, from an Irish point of view, we want Ulster to beat Sale. But if Sale were to get a bonus point, they could go to 10. It could make it tricky for Munster. Clermont are away to the Stormers. So we don't need them winning either.
No.
So there's a couple of results there. It's Montpellier, Clermont, Sale, who are the biggest threat to Munster. It's going to be difficult for them going there. Just on the stats quickly. Obviously Munster, the possession-wise, 53% possession, territory 49%, and sometimes that concerns me. And I was this one where territory at time as a player, it makes it difficult for the opposition. But credit to Northampton. Defenders beaten 25, which again indicates and adds to what we're seeing and the way they're trying to play. The numbers are high there. 29 last week against the Lions. The week before against Ulster, it was pretty high as well. Defenders beaten, it was in the 20s again. 28 against Ulster. So they're high numbers. That indicates, sometimes stats can be skewed, but they're beating defenders, they're stepping, they're showing evasion, stuff we didn't see last year. Clean breaks only 1, so didn't find that space like you would like. 7 offloads, 11 turnovers conceded, whereas Northampton had 15. So there's both sides pretty high numbers with the turnovers conceded. The one issue there and the work rate around defence is very good, but 31 missed tackles is too high. And I think that was down to a little bit of fatigue and the Northampton reaction. So overall, pretty positive with the results. Toulouse on Sunday. Well, it's Toulouse. You think of where the hardest places to go to in Europe, and you're thinking this is right up there. It's a daunting task. They've so much depth, so much power, physicality, and dare we say it, Dupont. He's just magical in what he does. So they may not need a losing bonus point, which is a kind of a defeatist kind of attitude going there, but we can talk about the reality. It's going to be very, very difficult. Munster are going to have to find something special to win the game, but to stay in the game and to not make it crazily frantic, which sometimes suits Toulouse as well. They've got to try and get something out of the game if possible. They still may go through. So what do you see happening on Sunday, and how difficult is it to go to Toulouse for them?
Yeah, I suppose my greatest worry would probably be up front in relation to the scrum. I think, and the lineup per se, you know, they've obviously got someone like Richie Arnold, who's ridiculously tall and really good second rows, and I just worry about the set piece. I think if we can gain some sort of parity from a set piece point of view, I give us every chance. I really do. In terms of trying to go and get something out of that game, I think around the park we're playing really, really well. We can, for mentally in the right place, which I really feel that they are, to be fair. I think then that we can physically front up in relation to their face play. I just think the set piece would worry me. But yeah, look, what have they got to lose? I think they've got to go and think. And I suppose if they can gain parity on that, then they've got to nail home their chances. They've got to be clinical. And I feel like after the last few weeks, you know, the fact that they won at the end, you know, against Ulster, and they were there, you know what I mean? They were able to fight to the end against Northampton, and that the ability to be able to go for the full 80 minutes or the 82 minutes, whatever it needs to be, that'll give them a lot of confidence. And so yeah, look, I just think that parity and set piece and anything can happen.
And Ulster went there last year and got a result. I know that Toulouse had a sending off, so they probably need a little bit of luck and a few things to go with them. But confidence, you mentioned it. That's something that's really important. And they look like it's side that are, I suppose, have a little bit more self-belief. It's going to be really difficult, but one to watch, obviously, on Sunday. And obviously, by Sunday night, we'll know who's playing who in round 16. So hopefully Munster are in that group. A little bit of news from last week. Mossy Lawler coming back to the province. That announcement was made after we did the podcast. I played with Mossy, with Shannon, with Munster. He's a great fella. I think he's been in Connacht for a number of years and highly thought of as well. So he's another Munster man coming back to Munster, which again the fans will like, and I think it's an exciting.
A designated skills coach, which is incredibly exciting. I think that's been something that probably has been missing over the
is that to share the load with Mike Prendergast and kind of takes individuals away, small groups.
Yeah, so like Prendergast work on actual attack and backline attack, whereas at the moment there's probably stretching resources because they've got to work on their skills, because we've seen how they've been playing the last few years. They've not really looked to put their skills under pressure, whereas now they're trying to absolutely make those passes. So I think it's a really, really good appointment. He's, as you say, he's been in Connacht for a number of years, but he went to Connacht in the domestic game and worked his way into the high performance professional side, and it's great. But it will free up Prendy then to be able to give time to be able to work on team attack or backline. So it's really good.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'm delighted for Mossy because he has to deliver now. He has to get in there, do the job. He still has to finish the season out with Munster, but it's a great appointment and we wish him well. I was going to ask you and get into the Conor Murray-Keith Earl situation again. That kind of caught me by surprise last week, as did everyone. People texting me, asking me, are they finished? Is this the end of an era? My tuppence worth on it is both of them. Obviously, it was a shock, but it shows that Graham Rowntree is rewarding players who he feels are in form. And I think Conor and Keith would probably admit at the moment that they need to be a bit sharper. Both have missed a lot of games this season. They haven't got a lot of rugby under their belts. So hopefully we'll see from both players a bit of a kind of resurgence and a reaction. Again, what I heard from the weekend is they were incredibly positive. Their heads weren't dropped. They were encouraging people around them, which is what you love to see.
I heard that as well, yeah, to be fair.
I always remember Roy Keane came into Munster in 2006 before we played Sale over in Manchester. And one of the questions was who was the best professional or one of the best professionals that you've played with? And he was talking about Scholes and Giggs and these guys and their energy and the positivity and players' reactions when they were dropped off teams. And he didn't kind of go naming individuals, but he always looked at the players who were dropped off that Manchester United squad, what their reaction was like. And the ones who kind of, kept the head up and helped the team were the ones that mostly impressed him. And I was really glad to hear that, Conor Murray and Keith Earls. It didn't surprise me in any way, but it was a surprise in the sense that, people were a little bit shocked and it made some headlines.
They still have value. Like, we can't understate this enough. Like, they still have value. Are they finished? Are they written off? Absolutely not. They still have a huge amount of rugby left in them, and hopefully Munster can get the best out of them first.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a big weekend. So that's it for episode 54 of the Red 78 all wrapped up. To make sure you get your podcast straight to your phone every week, just search for the Red 78 wherever you get your podcasts and press subscribe. Don't forget to get in touch with us through Twitter or through you can send us an email at the rugby channel at bowermedia.ie or send us a tweet. Anyway, well done, Niamh. Good week for you.
Thanks.
Good week for Munster. Again, you play Connacht on Saturday and Munster
1
play
o'clock.
Toulouse away on Sunday as well. So thanks again, and we'll chat to everyone next week.
The Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster rugby better.
I'd like to think I know a lot.